Okay, we're live. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome again to our Finance and Infrastructure Standing Committee monthly meeting. Great to have you all here, full house in terms of the committee being here today, and welcome to Councillor McIndoe and Sulphur, who are observers, of course, but you're always welcome observers and members of the public. Special welcome to any of the live streamers out there who might be tuning in for our committee meeting today. It's always a good committee to tune into, always lots happening, although today it is a little lighter, I must say, the agenda, but that is not to say we won't utilise all of this time this morning. Lots happening since our last meeting. I think we had the Sunflower Festival, we had the Queen's Bat in Rio. I've had a stint over in the Northern Territory, the Northern Territory Cattlemen's Association annual conference, and tackling a little bit of a trip to Uluru and Kings Canyon and Clearwater Mission. So that's been great. Everyone's feeling quite energised until on Monday and the flu at Easter. So, but anyway, we're all going well. But we'll hop straight into our meeting. Everyone's obviously present, so we don't have any apologies today. But is there anyone that needs a leave of absence for any upcoming meetings? No, I think so. Great. So we'll move to confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. Councillors, they are there. Is somebody happy to move receiving minutes? Move Councillor Grimblekone, seconded Councillor Daniels. Is everybody happy with the minutes? All right, all in favour? Carried. Any business arising out of the minutes? You can see there we had some items for decision. There was an item there Councillor Grimblekone raised in relation to the standing committee
chairing.
Yeah, and I think Jason, I think we did clarify that. I know it's in here as something that you would come back to us with, but I think point that you would like to add in relation to that.
Madam Chair, I'll go back through the CEO return.
Yeah. I think it was all sorted. Anything there, councillors, you'd like to revisit? No, thanks. All right, we'll keep moving. Review of outstanding meeting actions. That is tabled within docs on tap. Colour coded as always. Note the first item being the management options for local government regional airports. I do believe there was another meeting as recently as last Friday that Michelle referred to. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add.
I could provide an update
in
yes, Madam Chair.
That'd be great. Anything else? Obviously, we spent quite a bit of time on this maturing infrastructure pipeline program yesterday and in previous meetings. Prioritising project prioritisation. We've done a bit on that lately. Anything else there, councillors?
Chair, is there an update on the 740, the old Reward Road? There's been some letters and backwards and forwards. So, is there an update on communication with?
There's, through the chair, councillors, there's two matters playing out. The Reward Road opening closing is one matter, and then there's a secondary matter currently at hand where there's an issue with the gate on Calabutt Road. We in the process of resolving as it's in technically it's in breach of our local government law, and we probably need to seek a solution on that, given that gates, we don't permit gates on our local government roads, and secondly, if a gate is considered, there should be a permit. In this instance, He's not, so we trying to work through it, there's lawyers involved, so it's a bit hard, I just want to leave it at that for the time being.
Through the chair, this is not on the resolution register right now, but I was wanting to have an update on what's happening with the Emerald High School car parking that was discussed, I think the last update we had been maybe 12 months ago. So I mean, I can leave it with you, Gerard, to come back to us at another meeting about that then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Wright.
Just on 922, on there, if there could be actually, I think there is a further update to that one that could be actually put into the comments, please.
Is that something that anyone here would know anything about that we might know to talk about?
I think there has been,
Oh, yeah.
since the 13th of the 10th, we've had updates, so.
I might have to check in to see.
Yeah,
on
just-
that one too.
You just need to check with someone.
Yeah. All right. So if we can just make a note there that obviously there might be an update to that one, if we can just see.
Yeah.
Check an update on 922, that would be great. Obviously,
Chair, we must be about due to review the whole master document again. So I know we've had to undertake it every 3 months. I think it's December,
I think you're
the
right.
last time we looked at the entire document. And so it'd be good if the next meeting we could actually spend a little bit of time going through each item.
Yeah. Great, thank you, great suggestion. Got that noted, Mr. Giroux?
Yeah, refer to the chairman.
Awesome. Okay, councillors, and obviously the Willows water situation is sitting there, and again, these are important things, and I see it's still flagged for the next budget. So that's important. The feasibility study for Blue Gums, we've talked about that as recently as yesterday, so I think we're pretty well abreast of most of that, so councillor happy, we will move on to future agenda items. Obviously that's tabled there, that's there for every standing committee meeting. Is there anything that anyone wants to shuffle around, any new agenda items? Is everyone still happy with that at the moment?
We picked up on the Emerald State High School update.
Yeah.
Anything else? And it was.
That will remain as is, yeah.
I have a bit of trouble with this one because to me it's, when you're looking now, we're April and we've got things there from June 17, items from June 17 as being, so is there some way we can, I know that it's a budget item. To me, it needs to be more up to date than that, surely.
Yeah, it'll probably, without a doubt, it needs a refresh, I think. And including, and obviously, if there's things that pop up from time to time, that's always going to change and things get pushed out, but, you know.
But there should be, so if we just take the first one, 25, the road infrastructure charges, revenue and application, I would imagine that, see, there's comments from the 22nd of the 1st. So, anyway, I just.
Yeah, and I don't know what the relevance of the date says, obviously it's the date that it's come to our attention, and is it, yeah.
Through the chair, I'm just looking at the system. We can't change by the looks of it. The initial date doesn't get changed, the officers just update comments. So the problem we have here is we should be rescheduling if that initial comment was.
It's not really a rolling report, then, is it?
I know, but I'll have to check we'd have to check what the system does, because the officers are updating comments with new dates, but it's not being reflected. I think we'll just have to take that up with our executive assistants.
I'm really sorry.
No, thank you, Councillor Earls. It is a bit confusing, I guess, in that regard. So, councillors, moving on, do we have any petitions? Oh, no petitions, right? Committee recommendations and notes? Nothing. Material Personal interest, conflict of interest, personal gifts and benefits, anything to declare? And that as much as I do, but if I can throw something in, that is that I am on the board of Central Highlands Health, and there is a deed partnering update, so I do have a conflict of interest, but there's no decision in relation to that, so I just thought I'd flag that I do have that interest. I'm quite happy to remain.
So you can't go around and have a coffee, Chair, you have to stay here.
Yeah. Just to try that one in. So we will move on to corporate services, asset management roadmap update, and as usual, Jason, direct to the room, and you're welcome Margaret Cadden to the hot seat. Thank you, Margaret. Let's introduce Margaret in this agenda item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councillors, we have been working on the roadmap probably for the last 2 financial years that I've been working with Council. It's an opportunity for us to outline the progress that's been made, particularly in this year and the other ancillary work that goes on to complement our work around asset management and its contribution to the budget process, particularly the more mature process that we've adopted for the current budget around the project decision framework and the prioritisation model for each of those new existing or renewal items of capital works. Margaret and her team have put a lot of work into getting the data right so far, and I'd like to hand over to her to talk through the essence of this report. Through you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Margaret.
Thank you, Jason. Through the Chair, hello, councillors. As Jason has said, over the past 2 years, we've been putting a lot of effort into progressing the roadmap associated with the strategy and the asset management policy that Council adopted in May 2016. The roadmap's essentially based on the National Asset Management Framework, but with the introduction of the ISO 55000 International Standard on Asset Management, we will be starting to assess our maturity as it's becoming an industry norm. If I can just refer in the report, or what you would have on the screens there, with the different views on where we're actually sitting with our asset management maturity. So I've got a spider graph there, and we've also got the 4 pillars of asset management, that being accountability and direction within the organisation, asset information management, asset lifecycle information management, and service level management. I've got approximately 66 items, all with varying levels of detail required to action them and varying levels of complexity. So I'll just touch on a few points here around the asset management plans. So all the asset management plans have been updated since May 2016, and they're updated to reflect valuations, changes in depreciation, and additional inventory, etc. They set a great foundation for the general overview of what assets Council has, and at a macro level, if our assets are sustainable and the funding of the renewals of them is affordable. So we actually have asset inventory and condition data. We need to critically look at our remaining useful lives across each of our asset classes, and we need to also assess the criticality of those. We've also developed a communication strategy around asset management, and the message will be that asset management systems encompass the whole of the organisation, and that an effective asset management organisation recognises that asset management isn't something done by asset management in corporate services, and strong coordination vertically through the organisation is required from a strategic to an operational level, and we see that education is the first step in that. And the catchphrase for our communication strategy is simplifying the asset management system. What is it and where do you fit in? To complement that, we've developed some detailed roles and responsibilities and some matrices that go along with that. This is really to take it to the next level and clearly define roles and responsibilities across the organisation, again, so that there isn't a perception or a focus that it's corporate services' responsibility to deliver asset management. Asset condition and inventory data is a focus point and continues to actually be a significant risk for Council. What we have within our asset management system, as you all know, when I've been here, when we're talking about valuations and depreciations, is based on a acronym called an SPI, which is a Service Potential Index. And as explained to Council in previous meetings, that's a combination of understanding the remaining useful life of an asset and making some assumptions about when that asset may start to fail, and therefore what we would need to spend to actually continue to keep it at its optimal level. What we need to do is complement that with physical inspection of our assets across all of the network, rather than have an ad hoc and sometimes a disparate approach to that. So as Council may remember, through the Local Government Grants and Subsidies Program, I submitted a request for funding of asset condition data, and that we were unsuccessful in that. There were 4 options in there, but we totally fund that within our own organisation by additional resources, and to keep the, I suppose, the intellectual property within the organisation, growing our own and making that sustainable. The other options were obviously to source consultancies and have a one sort of size-fits-all approach to that.
So Michael, what were the 2 cost scenarios that those 2 options?
I thought you would ask me that, so I thought my they're quite extreme in differentiation. So we actually put forward some proposals based on hierarchy. So taking into consideration that it would be not nigh on impossible, but very difficult to do a complete physical inspection of every single asset across every single network in a short period of time. So I think we're using a mix of consultants and internal staff. It was approximately $4 million. So that would be a full asset condition assessment, for example, across our sewer network, $2 million, water, building site improvements, and stormwater, etc. So across all of the asset classes. Now that's a determination sort of brought to myself with engineering, our asset engineering officers, and also financial. So there could be different views on what would be the most critical area to look at. We also came up with alternatives. So the other extreme to that through the chair is around $800,000, which would be essentially minimising the data, minimising the amount of pickup that we would do, but it would still be better than what we've got now. So we've got those 2 extremes. That would be in-house, yeah.
But I mean, the other thing you've got to understand is, I suppose, what is the cost of not doing this?
That's exactly right.
Yep. It sounds like a lot of money, but the cost of not doing this.
Yes, that's exactly right. And the other aspect of it is the Queensland Audit Office, through their Local Government Financial Sustainability Report to Parliament in 2015 and 16, was very, very clear and succinct about councils not relying on valuation data to drive their renewal funding and their capital works, that they needed to support getting actual asset condition and physical data. And it's also obviously a focus for the Queensland Reconstruction Authority as well, through our NDRRA, and that has been a concern that I've had, that in the future, if we were unfortunate enough to have another rain event, we would, or any other form of disaster damaging our roads or bridges, we would potentially have a difficult time in justifying that what was the original condition of the road, and what the renewal requirements for it as well.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. So what you're likely to see is the budget bid in the coming 18-19 budget around how we might best resource that to get some of that work done. And one of those driving factors that's realised there really is the condition assessment work on the NDRRA activities. We know how critical that is now. And that'll be one of the focus areas. The other point that Margaret didn't labour necessarily was the great work contributed by those engineering asset students that we had through in 2016 and 2017. They have done a significant amount of work in getting that asset condition data. You might remember the presentation that we made to council around that. That was in Blackwater and the water or sewer network, mapping that information. So we've got quality information in there now. It's really just getting it across all of our asset classes so that we get a high level of confidence in the information that we've got now. currently, the financial accounts for this year will only see us undertake what's termed a desktop or indexation change to the valuations, so you won't see the sweeping movements in asset values or depreciation that you've seen over the last 2 financial years. And that's really about giving us a level of consolidation as well, to pull the data through and keep some consistency in our reporting requirements. But I'll let Margaret continue.
Thanks, Jason, and to the Chair and councillors. Some other work that we've been working on is really reviewing and the processes around how we actually capture information on capital works once it's completed. So that's been quite a detailed review that we've done with the asset custodians to ensure that we capture all the right information in a more timely manner, because the impacts of from when an asset is created or maintained out in the field to then when that information comes into the organisation for us to update our systems can sometimes be quite a long period of time, and then it becomes an issue around accuracy, etc., etc. So we've done a lot of work on, we haven't implemented it, but we've done a lot of work on redefining how we need to improve that process. As you all would be aware, we've done a lot of work around the project decision framework and prioritisation work, and that will be front and centre through the entire 18-19 budget proposals and workshops with council. We've also done a lot of work on maintenance business processes. So previously our asset management plans have been supported by what we refer to as a business process model, and that's really just a set of criteria and to assist officers in how we collect the information, what we do with it and how we decide on it, how we actually make decisions. What we actually haven't done up until now is start applying that same level of rigour around preventative maintenance or even reactive maintenance and the decisions around when and how we do that as well. And obviously that's all done in consultation with the asset custodians. That's not finished, that piece of work, but it's well progressed to be implemented sometime in the 18-19 year. We've also been conducting risk workshops with each of the asset custodians, and that's based on what we currently have in the asset management plans, our understanding of the accuracy of the data, and then obviously on engineering and officers' judgment, they're actually out and understanding their network more than anyone else. So in the absence of data where they actually believe we've got risks in the organisation. And then I complement that by looking at various funding models and things like around engineering lives versus what are adopted lives. If we fund the engineering life of a road network, for example, it would be the quantum of, etc. Let's say I'll just quote $5 million over a 10-year period versus, that's really underquoting as an example, versus if we look at our adopted lives, what that would actually cost to fund over a 10-year period, and they're quite different, those funding models. So that will also be part of the 18-19 budget workshops where we'll be putting that forward to council to consider. The other last bit I'll just comment on is the Tech One implementation. So obviously a key focus of that is strategic asset management, mobility solutions, being able to get real-time data on the health of our assets in the field, and then that to be able to be uploaded in a far more efficient manner for people back in the office to make determinations about where focus needs to be next. There'll be a number of items on the roadmap that we'll actually have to pause until the actual formal implementation of Tech One, because they will be impacted by that, but there is a lot of other progress happening in the background. I suppose I would just finish by saying our team's dedicated to supporting the asset custodians to help us make the right decisions with the right data. Takes a lot of effort, and yeah, that's it, I think. Do you have any questions?
Any questions from Mark? Mark, I'd just like to say how refreshing it is to hear your reports coming through here. I'm always very encouraged by the work that you guys are doing. It's certainly a long way from where we were a few years ago. I know we're all heading in, a really positive direction in terms of as a result of the work that you're doing with your team. So I suppose something to keep in mind is the budget process and what we might need to do to address some of those deficiencies. But I was just thinking, the work that has been done in relation to game plan, like a lot of the asset condition assessments that were done with that, is that talking to your, is that coming through to you, that stuff?
Not as good as it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because,
But I take responsibility for that. I haven't sought
because I sort of
to.
thought, well, we've had consultants doing that, and I know that's probably a very small part of the overall pie that we're talking about, but it's all useful information.
Oh, absolutely.
Helpful, so,
Through you, Madam Chair, I think, what it does highlight is many improvements to be made around our buildings and facilities and those type of assets. We have a really good understanding of the roads, water, sewer, drain. We probably need to do some more work around anything that's a building or a structure, whether that's, on a reserve or on being vows. That's probably a weakness at the moment. That's right through even our existing housing stocks. So we know there's more information we need to glean through that process, particularly as Margaret talked about those business process models. Part of this will be, why do we own the asset? What's its purpose? And do we still need to keep retaining it as an asset? So some of those harder decisions around community-based infrastructure will probably come forward over the next 12 months.
thank you, Jason. Thanks, Margaret. Council, any other questions? Try and stretch it out a bit.
Really, really good report. I heard what the chair on that is fabulous. My concern is about the question that the chair asked about, are you receiving information about maintenance to assets from Sport and Rec or the game plan? Because we're starting to see a real conflict between maintaining the roads, the sewer, the water, the blah, 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 and having to then maintain assets for the Sport and Rec or for game plan, because they have been basically maintained by clubs and organisations up until now. Now all of a sudden they're being told that no, it's council responsibility, and we are finding that yes, there is things going to happen in the next couple of months. There's a lot of maintenance that's going to happen to some of these facilities. Is it going to happen by council? And so this is part of the asset, the valuations and bringing on a lot of infrastructure that really hasn't been on the register as such. So, I do see a bit of conflict there.
Councillor Roth through the chair. In 14-15 was when we did, 2014-15, we did, I'd just been in the organisation a couple of months, and we completed what they call level 2 condition assessment of all of the facilities and housing stock. But we haven't actually, other than just do indexation since then, we haven't updated that information. But in terms of actually having accurate condition data, again, it goes back to my point in the report that it's critical that we do that, and that we don't rely on just at a point in time, we do a big sweep of condition data. It needs to be cyclical inspections. It needs to be part of officers' everyday roles and responsibilities, not every person, but obviously defined, that it is just part of business, or it's business as usual, that condition assessment inspections are actually done. And the information is, collected consistently, it's updated in the system consistently, so that we're making informed decisions around budget and the timing of when we actually do this work.
So it's about that quality baseline data as well. We just that was absent, and I do know the consultants, found quite a few surprises, some pleasant, some not pleasant, in relation to some of the data that they collected. But, you know, maintenance is another aspect of it, but actually having that condition assessment of the actual asset to start with.
And it is going to take time to get across, to actually get all the assessments done, and then rearrange our maintenance.
Through you, Madam Chair, it is a really important aspect, Councillor Rolfe. We should see that information flow into the early request for the 18-19 budget. But I think, you know, the other point to raise is that that will need to be spread out over multiple years in terms of, police use the term capital maintenance, so bringing stuff up to the minimum requirements if it's not already there. So we're aware of that information being collected. Not a lot of it's played through to the budget bid preparation, but we expect, you know, that to come into play, as well as looking at what our capital spend will be across the community facilities and infrastructure. So obviously there is a program of work that's planned there, but how its prioritisation might change with, you know, other assets that we don't currently maintain coming on board and having a higher need, for want of a better term, to be addressed sooner. So there'll be a really big challenge for us to balance those priorities in the early part of the 18-19 budget, and you'll probably see that as a piece that moves throughout 18-19 and into the 19-20 budget. So it'll be one where the organisation gets more information, better understands how to use it. It'll probably be the subject of budget reviews or going forward, so that we can manage expectations, but also ensure that the work that we schedule and plan to do actually gets delivered in the timeframes that we say it will. So you raise some good points, and we're conscious of that in the current budget preparation. It's just how much of it can be, you know, well planned and well thought out to put into the budget that you first see for 18-19, and how much of it might change over those 6 to 18 months after that.
Thank you. Once again, thank you so much, Margaret. It's always a pleasure having you in the chamber. And thanks for your work in the chamber with yes. So moving on to departmental updates. We've got a few there. I might call on Michelle Webster, Dean of Community Services, to lead us through the first section. Are you ready, Michelle?
I am ready, thank you, Madam Chair. Getting the right report. I'll take the reports as read. Probably not a lot to highlight within this month's report, Madam Chair and Councillors. We will note in regards to the airport that I have commenced, we have some funding for the beautification of the entrance of the airport, Emerald Airport. I have commenced discussions with CQ University in regards to a student program for whether that be a competition or whether that be a opportunity for the students of the university to put forward and develop a design and concept for us. So we've commenced those work, and a meeting with a representative from the university will occur this week. So I think that's a good local involvement type project, something different. We have combined the works with Springshaw and Ralston design and testing for the overlays for those runways, combined those works, which sees a saving of $14,000 in regards to those projects. The works at the hangar and the front office at the airport, at Emerald Airport, are now about 80% complete. Shepton Quarry, we are continuing on with converting to the new quality assurance standards for the quarry. The quarry must have to supply material for main roads work, etc., be quality assured, so we continue on with that work. Sales at the quarry have picked up, with March being a very good month, and we continue on with the other work for the quarry in regards to conversations with working through some lease issues which have been raised by the property owner in regards to a leasing matter, working through that, as well as the company engaged to assist with an expression of interest, so working through those processes at the moment. Saleyard also sees sorry, if I just go back to, no, that's fine. Saleyards also see some increase in cattle volumes and numbers now at this stage of the year, which is very pleasing to assist us with some of the revenue at that facility. We also are trialling we're a trial site for the new LE software upgrade at Emerald, and I was surprised actually to hear yesterday at the Sale Yards Coordination Committee, I didn't realise that we were the first site in Queensland for that, which is good, and that has been also a saving for the organisation in that not having to pay around $20,000 for that upgrade, and trialling it live on site, and I believe there have been 2 or 3 sales now where we have operated with that. The manager out there also tells me that have implemented some additional antennas to assist with Wi-Fi and efficiency in regards to the downloading of information that's put on the touch pads, so increasing the efficiency, as well as there is the opportunity moving forward with that, I suppose what we call smart sale yards, where getting paper out of the sale yards. We're currently the Livestock Agents Association employ a couple of employees, 3 or 4 employees on the morning of a sale, and this new technology and software will assist in reducing some of those physical man hours as well, so that is a good thing. Final working drawings for the main draft area have now been finalised, so they're being quoted at the moment. A couple of quotes to hand at this time. The full weighbridge deck has now nearing full completion. There have been a couple of test weighs, private weighs that have been conducted. That's another significant efficiency that will increase the efficiency of the throughput of cattle in weigh once auctioned and sold and through the process, which is very good. We had an inspection of that yesterday at the Coordination Committee. That's probably all that I will highlight, and more than happy to take any questions from councillors in regards to any of those businesses.
Chair, can I just make a comment about, we had the Sale Yards Committee meeting yesterday morning, and as Michelle said, we went out and had a look at the new drafting. Just a comment also about assets. There's a hydraulic pump there that's been there for 30 years, and when they decided to look at it and see if it still worked, it's done 100 and something hours in 30 years. So, you know, here's an asset that, but in that time it had never been, all it had was oil put in it, never had filters changed or anything like that. So here's a renewal of an asset that, yeah, I mean, we've saved thousands of dollars. Yeah. Also, the when Michelle was saying about the 2 aerials, it was a quote there was thousands of dollars, $27,000 to put in a system for Wi-Fi across the sale yards, and the manager said, no, well, we'll just put in, so they put in a couple of Yagi aerials, and for a few $100s, and that was it. So yeah, it's the management out there is really working very well.
Another example, Councillor, also was the recycling of some scanning apparatus in regards to, with the new full deck weighbridge, they then had to come up with a solution in regards to lot recognition. So if cattle, you know, whatever way they went, that was a problem. So they've recycled some of the unused scanning devices. One now sits above the smaller weigh deck, and that's solved their problem. So again, it's, do you know what I mean, that initiative, and do you know what I mean,
the manager was told that
Would only be side on.
it could only be vertical. It was a vertical scanner. So he said, well, really? So they put it horizontal above and it works perfectly. So again, it's, you know, that was a marketing issue. Obviously, somebody said that you'd have to have something different.
yeah.
So, yeah,
It's all very positive. Some very good work happening at the
Yeah, it is.
She's doing a great job.
It was really refreshing.
to hear all the innovative ideas and the renewable ideas of a lot of the assets there that, you know, were underutilised.
Yep.
It was a great meeting.
Raw water is now, virtually near completion, where that is all now connected, some signage and what have you needs to go out, so, obviously raw water will be used for, water for the cattle, but also for, dampening the dust, so previously we were using treated water for those things.
So in the future, we'll have a report on the cost saving, I suppose, of the use of raw water.
I think it's awesome. I recognise that Councillor Daniels and Councillor Rolfe and Councillor Nixon all sit on the Stardust Committee, but it's really great to be hearing these positive initiatives that have been undertaken that really do make a difference out there. It's a fantastic community asset, so good work.
Through the chair, just a question in regards to all, you know, all the electronics and everything that's going on out there. How's our electrical, I'm getting whispers that there's trouble with the underground electrics and the amount of power in the distribution board and things like that. Is that part of operations upgrades, or is that in the scope?
As these issues we're coming across these issues, Councillor McIndoe, they're being addressed by the manager. There's, yes, there was some issues with the main switchboard, I believe. These things are rectified as they need to be. They're not things that necessarily can wait.
No.
So, no, they get dealt with. So, Jermaine, as we discussed at the committee yesterday, so in regards to services and materials, so we're probably sitting at 102% in regards to budget. Some of that is dealing with some of this electrical issue.
It needs rectifying.
Yep.
Councillors, any other questions for Michelle? Just those, all the heavy vehicles that are at the airport at the moment, are they working on the flood mitigation project at the airport? There's just a lot parked there today.
Yes. What's happening? No idea, but I can find out.
Yes,
Mr.
Madam
Chair,
Roadtech undertaking a road upgrade from Olive Farm through just past the Telford Road.
All
They're using the road reserve in front of the airport as their site office.
Oh, I thought maybe the aircraft stuff.
right. The visioning had commenced.
Fastest road.
It's amazing. It's the power of the visioning.
Don't put that on.
Oh, no, that's good. Thank you, Jason. All right, any other questions for Michelle? Otherwise, we will move on to corporate services. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of points there, councillors. Obviously, fresh eyes into the organisation. We've been able to make some changes to our banking services using a cash management suite facility. That's also reflective of trying to keep the pressure banking provided to deliver the services that we require. There are very limited options for banking these days, and the majority of customers run by local governments are into two of the three big banks at this point in time. So we're making sure that we're getting value for money out of our contract service. Obviously, the rates and charges have been and gone. Discount period closed last week. Council provided some early stat information on how those collections have come through, which was quite pleasing, and I'm trying to get final figures at the end of last week to see how that has translated. Obviously, there's been a big change in people's payments methods as well, a lot more electronic use coming forward. And you can see there next week we're scheduled to hold the second auction in relation to the sale land of Greater Arrears properties. Preparations are going for that now. Happy to take any questions, Madam Chair.
Councillors, any questions? Other than that, it was really pleasing to see that percentage, that high percentage of rates collected within the nominated timeframe. That's really good.
The girls downstairs taking payments were saying that there's a couple of hundred adjustments as well, that there was less confusion about their adjustments and their payments. So whatever's happening is being done right.
Okay, thanks for the feedback, Councillor.
No, very good. And in relation to the auction of the properties. We still have the 10 properties going to auction at the moment.
Might be 9 now.
No, and who's undertaking the auction, do you know?
The auction will be undertaken by Mr. Commodore, will be the auctioneer. This
You had a win.
range of properties. I haven't been closely involved with that. He's been awarded that role and we finalised reserve prices and that information over the couple of days.
So that's in a fortnight, isn't it?
18.
18.
Oh, so that,
Yeah.
No, it's good, thank you, Jason. Infrastructure and utilities, Gerard Giroux.
We'll get Jason and Julian down. I probably don't have to tell Jason what to touch on, but there's the first part, there's a couple of individual projects. If councillors have any interest in any of them, we can touch on them. Jason, do you want to go through?
Yeah, good morning, councillors. I will just run through just a selection of them, just a brief update on the current projects. With BR3 coming up in the near future, we're looking relatively good for full delivery of our program. Obviously some slight adjustments with BR3, but I'll just touch on a few, and if there are any other specific you want to talk about, we can. But the flood regional building our regional floodways of the 23, we've done 14, so there's 9 of them to go in the region. The resheeting in the east, there's a couple of roads there that are completed, and we're moving down to the Fairfield, Mapala, Mungabunga area this week. Carnarvon Gorge bridges are well on their way. The contractor did leave site due to some wet weather, but they're back on the ground again there. And just as a point of interest, that project is has a lot of cultural heritage issues, a lot of monitoring to make sure that we are complying by all the all our requirements with that. Yesterday they did find a bone. We shut the site down for a couple of hours. We've got cultural heritage specialists in, and they identified it as an animal bone. So the monitoring is working, so that's a good result of that. NDRA packages, even with the wet weather we had in late February, we did manage to deliver those first packages by the end of March. They were the trial packages under the new for the new model. So we'll report back to QRA with the feedback there, and also the contract package was delivered on time as well. There's another package, which we've done by day labour. We're just negotiating the paperwork at the moment. That's for Gordon Road and Kilgour in the north. A couple of other ones, Anarchy Sapphire intersection, the work's been awarded to Rocker Road, so that will commence mid-April. And I do have to clarify, in the last meeting I referred to the fact that there wasn't vehicle actuated signage. There is in the design, so one of the designs, I think it's the speed sign, has the flashing, if the vehicles are travelling in excess of the speed, it will flash at them, so that's a good result there. And the signage order was awarded to Beehive Property Maintenance, and they're due to, we've had a pre-trial with them, and that should happen in the next couple of weeks.
I just want to touch on that one. What Jason's referring to is the ongoing saga, and there's a couple of councillors here that probably know what I'm referring to. There's been various complaints about the condition of DTMR signage on the highways across the whole of the region. So it's not just the Cap Highway, it's not just Anarchy, all the way down to Doringa, also down to the south. The reality of it is, Main Roads have got a budget in their Q trip for about, I'm trying to remember the figure now, $170,000 only to undertake audits. We got the RMBC contract, which we're now outsourcing to do an audit of all these signs on all their highways. Now the answer is simple. Doing an audit is part one, getting them to upgrade signs is a much bigger challenge. And as much as we write them, every time I get a letter, I refer it on. It's just the reality of it is they have no commitments currently to do anything more than what they describe as regulatory and warning sign updates or upgrades where required. So that means it's just your speed and the black and white and red signs effectively stop and give way signs. So DTMI, as it stands currently, are not or have not shown a financial commitment to upgrading any information signage, directional signage, tourist signage, and I'm leaving it at that. I know councillors have to pass on what the community has, but please share that with them next time. I'm happy to take the letters, but it's say our hands are tied. We've been battling and fighting and pushing them for years to try and get a bigger commitment. The fact that they're doing the audit, I hope it stands us in good stead, but the suspicion is it's probably going to be a few $1 million worth of signage requirements, and the question is when are they going to fund it? I don't know.
So that shouldn't stop us, through the chair, Gerard, that shouldn't stop us from doing CRMs on these signs and actually pinpointing the sign and saying it needs to be done, because the more times that we say a sign needs to be fixed, that goes through to TMR.
Yes,
Can
we are doing it, that's why I said that the rule.
Just keep doing it.
As a rule, we are forwarding it on, but please don't create the impression with the community that it's council's lack of willingness.
No.
It's
Oh,
just-
no, we're not doing that.
We're fighting a hard battle, and I think that is a topic that DTMR, when they turn up again, now looking up at the mayor there, when they turn up for our less than regular annual or biannual meeting, discussing high-level issues, that might be a topic that we'll probably put on the agenda as well, and to say that we are disappointed in the quantum of the commitment.
And if we've got every sign listed.
We have a pretty good database.
And that's the purpose of this audit, so it's a full-blown audit of all signage, so the point is they can't argue it. But I have to qualify that we already, just on RMPC, already have a 20 million backlog with the annual funding of about 3-point-something million, so they are, in any case, way underfunding our maintenance activities on their networks, and that's only the networks we're looking after. So,
Do they do the brown signs as well?
that would be
Because you know what, don't ours look fantastic, all up the Carnarvon Highway, across the Dawson Highway, up the Gregory Highway. All the new inland way signs are really lovely.
Yeah, so that was a package of work they did probably about 18 months ago now on the inland way. Yeah, whether that tourism signage, brown stuff, whether there's another funding package on that is yet to be seen. But yeah, the brown stuff was done probably about 18 months ago on that.
Yeah, it really does freshen up, and I do feel sorry for the gym fields and the
Oh,
colours.
just like the rocket
You know,
shop
you can't
there.
even read the signs.
No, you
It just doesn't, you know, when you see a fresh sign, it really does a lot for you.
And that community does know it's state responsibility, don't worry, they've been to the minister, so, yeah.
So we'll keep on fighting the good fight, but again, there's no, at this stage, there's nothing on the horizon in Q-Trip that suggests they're going to do major works other than us doing audits.
Well, the audit is an important part of it. Step one.
You want to pick, I'll pick up the next item, it's just a procedural matter. Glencore, Oakey Creek, there was just a change of ownership in terms of the proportion shareholding in the mine, and deed of assignment just means they're signing it from one entity to another, and I have to flag the fact that the agreement has been updated from Peak Downs to Central Highlands.
Finally,
Finally.
10 years.
Uh,
But did the dollar amount stay the same?
This deed of assignment is the ownership that's changed on the
So
infrastructure.
they're still paying their,
They're still paying what they're paying, it's just that it's different parties involved. So that was all, it was just a procedural thing that,
just a name change?
and a couple of,
Don't.
JV partners have swapped around. Swapped in the night, so that was just for information. Regional Road Group, you just want to touch on the high points there?
Yeah, I will, with Councillor Rolf's assistance if required. So I was lucky enough to attend the political group meeting in Warrabinda on the 21st of March. There was a chain of responsibility presentation from LGAQ, and I've just pointed some of the takeouts from there. Basically, the new legislation is being written to the new chain of responsibility legislation to align better with the workplace health and safety legislation. It affects any time council uses a vehicle that weighs over 4.5 tonne loaded. There's quite a few operations and departments that will be affected by the new legislation. It does, the basic principles are that everyone has a duty of care, so it's not unreasonable, it's not stepping outside what you would reasonably expect it to do on everyday work practice. And that we also touched on there on the agricultural side of it as well. What we do have is, since then, I got a copy of the two presentations, the one that was run at the information session we had, and then the second presentation for agriculture. It's tailored around cane growers, but we can make both of them available for councillors.
So councillors, that chain of responsibility for farmers, it's not on your agenda. But Susan did remind me this morning, it is like it is sitting there in docs on tap. It was just too large to include in your agenda, so it might be a good resource to refer to.
Thank you.
And to chain of responsibility, just to clarify again, it is unfortunately, as Jason said, it applies to anything more than 4.5 tonnes, and it is a responsibility and on the users to both control and influence safety during transport. So unfortunately, the agricultural sector has their obligations as well in that regard.
The other two topics was that TMR and LGAQ are currently negotiating and rewriting the new memorandum of agreement for the Road Transport Alliance. That's a 3-year document that's due for review now, so it's in a draft format, but hasn't been made publicly available yet. And the next topic was just the TMR concerns that the statewide TIS expenditure was at 41%. At the end of February.
Yeah.
Yep. The Bowen Basin, so all the representatives of the Bowen Basin group, we had a good conversation around that. We're all confident that we will reach that 100% for our projects.
Just a bit more information about that is that that funding has to be used. I suppose this is for live streamers, but that funding has to be used in so, but there hasn't been any decision made by Banana or Isaacs. It's usually Banana who has to give over some funds, and we're quite happy to take it up. So, but everybody seems to be confident that they'll complete their work this year. So
that's right. And our only project, Malkai's Road is practically complete. So we've got Wyona Road, which will commence once we're finished on Fairburn Dam Road. Again, it's a carryover project. We've left it so late, there's money in next year's budget, so to get economy of scale, we'll run it over the 2 consecutive years with that project.
And I'd just like to acknowledge Jason's work with the landowners along Wyona Road. I think it's been a really great example of community engagement over the last few years to make sure that when council is delivering the funding, that they're delivering to do exactly what is needed and desired by the landowners in that area. So well done to Jason and his team.
It's great to get that feedback. Thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
So Councillor Rock, you chair that Bowen Basin group. Is there anything that you wanted to add as chair in relation to that meeting with Jason was touched on
No,
that?
I think it was a really good meeting at Warabinda. It's the first one that I've been to at Warabinda, and well received and good meeting. Yeah, it's going along fairly well, I think. It's the Regional Roads Transport Group. They have a technical group that I wonder when Jason says I go to the political part of the group, because I don't sort of really see it as being a political part of the group. But anyway, that's, yeah. So we're working well together. That's nice.
It's the board, technically councillor, and the board signs off on the technical decisions and recommendations, so really that's the correct language. Sorry, to be honest, but it's not political, it's a board.
So Jason, where's Peter Manning today?
Peter
We are-
has tendered an apology and I'll represent him.
Good, so
He's
was there
working.
anything more from you, Jason, in
No,
relation to those ones?
I
Thank
did
you.
actually have a couple of questions. We moved on quite quickly from section 1. The Canarva bridges, so that was, that upgrade was grant funded, and I think it was due to be completed by end of last year. So there's obviously been an extension. Has been any concerns or issues around that extension of time?
No, correct, it was last year, so there was, the original design was for floodways, so it was changed to bridges for engineering reasons. So there's an approval process we had to go through to change the development application on that with other parties, and that all went through. The funding was extended till June 30 this year. We, based on the current program, we will complete it before June 30. However, if we do have any significant wet weather, there is a risk that it may go over. If it does go over, you know, obviously we'll have as much as possible and claimed up until that date of June 30.
Okay.
And if there is a risk, then we'll obviously be in negotiation with the funding source to see what options there are. But as it sits right now, we have regular meetings with the contractor, and he's still confident it will be finished before June.
Okay, excellent. And the other question I have is, it's good to see that the bikeway project is due to commence very soon. What section is that going to start with, Jason?
I believe the sections that are under the current contract are Opal Street, so from Fish through to Claremont.
Okay.
And then the extension of Opal Street down towards the BMX track. The other section is from the Tourist Information Centre, linking up through Morton Park, across the back, Craig Street, Egan Street, going across the road, linking onto Hospital Access Road, up to Racecourse Road.
So those are all done quite quickly. And it's good to see it's a local business delivering that project as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Jason.
Blackwater High School, the main. It remains a challenge, and I'm going to leave it at that because of the fact that there's the amount of time and energy we're burning on this one. The main was decommissioned for a reason, and getting it back commissioned up is taking more effort than it looks, because, as pointed out, it's been disconnected on other end now, and it's so, all I'll say at this stage is hopefully in the foreseeable future we'll get the main back and commissioned, and the options, whether it's treated effluent or water, that is the one to play for again, close it out.
Yeah, I think a decision had been made previously, that's why it was cut off.
I see that council member is nodding his head. Any questions? No. In the disaster management space, a couple of things have happened. Belly's got his Bell rescue vehicle ordered. That's Glen Bell. The other one is the SES in a shedding facility in Blackwater. Stage 2 is underway. local builder as well, good news story. And funny enough, it's a spring-shore builder, which is interesting, not one of the emerald ones. We will obviously, as soon as the reports are available, bring it to council. The flood modeling for Upper Common, which impacts on Fabius Valley School, has been completed. So I wasn't even aware there was flood issues up there, but basically, yeah, they have.
Build their own levy.
They live in Goodall.
Anyway, so that's a small little project in the wings that kind of just went by unnoticed. A lot of gauges being installed across the Shire, and we keep on doing that. So we are still essentially leaders in that space with early flood warning, river and rain gauges, and we continue on expanding that network. And then an interesting little project, LiDAR. If councillors aren't familiar what LiDAR is, it's basically flying survey of an area. We're getting a updated LiDAR survey of the Emerald Township. And what we're doing is also sneaky as tagged on a couple of other survey jobs, because the cost per kilometre or cost to obtain LiDAR survey versus real survey on the ground is significant. I won't go into the details, but BTMR was doing some survey on Cap Highway. We tagged on a few other projects, including the roads, the whole length of it. And just to give you context, flying 30+ kilometres of feeder roads would probably set us back less than $10,000. Obviously, it's good when you're surveying existing roads. Going through a car paddock might be a bit more risky because of the fact that vegetation could have an impact on accuracy. But again, given that we can fly existing roads and get surveyed efficiently, we jumped on the bandwagon and flying some survey on some of our roads as part of this package.
Very good. Councillors, any questions?
So through the chair, just in regards to the chain of responsibility, we spoke yesterday with some insurance issues that maybe we're dropping off some of our insurances, and just reflecting back on home marine was one, and some carriers liability was another. You can just have someone double check that they're not dropping it off for the wrong reasons if this chain of responsibility is coming in. The other thing is does that 4.5 tonne take in trail GVM, gross vehicle combination, GCM?
GCM. Yeah.
So this will pertain to all our light vehicles as well, that tow a trailer or anything like that, because the gross combination will come up over that 4. So it's going to really reflect everywhere possible.
Yeah, especially with the newer vehicles that can go up to 3 tonne. So there's some potential there.
Ranges or things like that, 3.5, I think. So it's not just trucks.
Just a quick question on the insurance. Yes, I'll check with my colleague over there where that sits, but I don't believe it will change your insurance responsibilities or liabilities. This is just a legislative WHS requirement compliance issue, so it runs in parallel. That doesn't. Obviously, your insurer will, if you're in breach of your responsibilities, treat your claims differently, but if you're compliant, then it shouldn't have a negative impact on insurance.
So, Chair, just to comment on the insurance, and Jason might be able to, I reiterated Paul Bell's question yesterday about the risk assessment of the changes to the insurance. And Jason, you might just follow up,
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Rolfe. Through you, Madam Chair, we will go back and revisit some of those policies and try and have a look at the risk assessment. I think traditionally we've been quite cautious in our approach to insurance, but there's been some valid points raised, and we'll go back and have a look at some of that information. I think, the focus has been trying to manage the impacts of that potential increase. So we just need to make sure we're not taking reactionary steps when they're unnecessary.
So Taylor will be bringing that report back to us.
Just to follow on a question with that, with the high tonnage with vehicles, do we need to make sure our operators are covered as far as licensing goes for that, as in light truck or not?
Yeah, so with a standard vehicle towing a trailer, there is a cut-off where they will need the license. So yeah, it is all has been identified and then working with the operators there.
I think actually that's come through, Sandy's actually based in,
Correct.
she has.
Alrighty then, thank you very much. Jason? That's exactly what we're going to do. Just checking if anyone has any general business before we move into closed session. General business, last call. So if we could have somebody move that we go into closed session, move Councillor Roll, seconded, and so Daniel's all in favour.